Yo, what is going on YouTube? I am Germ here. As you guys can see up on the screen today, we're going to be going over my LEC 80 carry tier list. This is an after the regular season. Yeah, we're even like a week or two into the playoffs at this point as well. Some stuff came up where I said I was going to get the rest of the tier list out, but it didn't happen. People were asking for them. I still wanted to get them out, so I'm still going to do that. Be giving my updated tier list on the last two LEC positions we have left, and we're actually going to be doing both of those in this video today. So we have the 80 carries and we have the supports coming right after, so it's going to be a little bit longer of a video, kind of like a mega tier list, bot lane tier list video, which hopefully should be fun. Hopefully you guys will appreciate a little bit longer, content type thing. I want to do this partly just to get this stuff knocked out, because I just have a bunch of other video ideas and stuff I want to make, but I do still want to cover this stuff because I think it's interesting. You guys seem to enjoy it, but also I think obviously 80 carry and support are very, very tied together. It's really tough to rate 80 carries without rating supports because the bot lanes are going to have so much effect on each other. A good support's going to help an 80 carry look good. Good 80 carry is going to help the support look good. So I don't think it should be too much of an issue to kind of combine these videos together in a little bit. And I think a lot of the things that I have to say about the 80 carries will also carry over a lot of the support as well, because again, when you're talking about these players, you're talking about the teams, you're talking about the bot lane, you're talking about how things went. I think playing on a good team makes you look better, playing on a bad team makes you look worse, all that stuff. So we'll be going over the 80 carries first, then the support, giving my thoughts and opinions on all 20 of these players that we're going to be talking about, and then also hopefully getting your guys' thoughts and opinions as well. Before we get into that, I just want to mention real quick, if you guys have not already, please take a second and smash that like button. This is going to be a long, crazy video. It's taking a lot of time and effort and everything to prepare for, so hopefully you guys appreciate that, enjoy that. The likes help me out the YouTube algorithm a ton, and subscribe to stay up to date on all my latest content. With that being said, let's get right into this. So we're going to be starting off with some of the lower guys. Also, just to be noted here, Comp is going to be Crown Shot in this video. Obviously, Crown Shot came in, I think, 7 games into the season. So I'm not going to be rating Comp. I don't think very highly of him. I'd have him C or F tier for sure. But we are going to be rating Crown Shot since we actually saw more games of him in the LEC. He's obviously the Vitality 80 carry now going forward. But this tier list was made in the offseason, so it doesn't have Crown Shot on here. I could have put him in, but I didn't. Deal with it, whatever, or flame me. I don't care. Comp is going to be Crown Shot, so use your imagination a little bit. First, we're going to be starting off with Jeskla, obviously for Astralis. This is a guy who, all of Astralis, yeah, did they win a couple more games than maybe we thought? Yeah, and we thought, or at least I thought that they were going to finish 10th. They ended up finishing 9th. I don't think anyone thought that Vitality was necessarily going to be as terrible as they were, but overall, still a lot of the Astralis players not really too impressive. I know there was a couple guys, obviously Felix came in, looked pretty good, Zanzara, some people were impressed with, but Jeskla was not one of the guys I was super excited about, super hyped up about. To me, I definitely have him as an F tier 80 carry at the moment, so that's kind of where that's going to be starting now. I do still think a lot of the Astralis team and players are in a bad position going into the summer. Vitality is maybe improving a little bit. Obviously with Crown Shot, they started to win some games. They started to maybe figure some things out. There's rumors that Skeens is maybe going to get replaced and maybe they'll get an upgrade there. That team could start to get a little bit better. Astralis could find themselves right back in 10th place before too long. And yeah, I don't really have too many good things to say about their bot lane. Obviously, I think Jeskla is held back maybe a little bit by Promiscu. Give a better support, give him a better team. Maybe we would look a little bit better. Yeah, maybe. I could see that. But overall, I'm still not too impressed. You could have him C tier. I wouldn't complain too much. But if we're going to start out at 10th, I want to put somebody in the F tier. So we'll start out there. Then where are we headed next? I would honestly probably go with Kabe into the C tier. There was a lot of talk coming into the season about Misfits. Yeah, they were a young, inexperienced team, but they were going to play through this hyped up bot lane. Misfits went out and you probably spent a decent amount of money getting Vander, because Vander was on Rogue. Rogue was going to be a good team. Rogue was taking a risk by replacing Vander for Trimby, and they were going to see what was going to happen, and that was obviously a big move. But Misfits was hyped up as needing this veteran bot lane of Kabe and Vander. How good, how nasty they were going to be together. And they were hyped up like they were going to be the main carries of this team. And again, that's not really what happened. Misfits started out the season pretty strong, but it was behind their solo laners of Hyrit and Video. And they just barely didn't make the playoffs. But I think overall, Kabe and Vander were both pretty disappointing this season. I think Vander was a little bit better than Kabe was, but overall, Kabe does have some decent laning stats. But other than that, the stats aren't too good. The eye test wasn't too good. Misfits was really disappointing. I don't even know if they were really disappointing. They ended up finishing about, I think, where most people expected them. But I think the bot lane was definitely disappointing for Misfits. I am a fan of Kabe. Obviously, he was on TSM for some time. I got to see him in North America. He was not great in North America by any means. He was solid. He was even maybe good. I think he was just okay most of the time. He definitely wasn't great. So I think he's maybe a little bit overrated, and I think he's kind of, been overrated maybe for a little bit. And I think people like him because he's a nice guy. He's really solid. He's not bad, but to me, he hasn't been that impressive. And honestly, I think AD carry in the LEC is one of the sickest positions. I think there are some awesome AD carries in the LEC. And Kabe's just not there for me right now. I don't know. This is definitely not what Misfits expected when they have that Kabe Vander bot lane. At least I don't think so. But next, who are we going to go with? Next, we will talk, I guess we'll move into the B tier maybe a little bit. I think Patrick is a tough guy for me to rate because I think he is very, very talented. And we know all offseason we heard about how just like Kave and Vander were going to carry Misfits, how Patrick was going to try and carry Excel. Maybe Patrick and Jekyll lad if he was going to show up. And overall, Excel had an up and down season. They didn't make the playoffs, but they were right there. They were close, but still, I mean, that's finishing bottom 4 in the LEC. And I think Patrick was solid, and I think he still has really, really huge carry potential. And I think he was laning with one of the worst supports in the LEC. Obviously, I do not think very highly of Torre, spoiler alerts for maybe the next tier list. But I do definitely think that holds him back a little bit, but also at the same time, it's hard to rate a guy too high who didn't have a lot of those huge carry performances, who didn't have a lot of those pop-up performances, who didn't have a lot of performances good enough to win games. And is that entirely his fault? No, but also at the same time, he's just a really, really hard guy for me to rate because I do think he's talented. I do think if he was on a better team or with a better supporter, whatever, he would perform better. But then you're getting into hypotheticals. You're getting into this really, really hazy area. It's like you got to kind of judge based off what you saw and what happened as well, which, Patrick had maybe a little bit disappointing of a season for him where people were really hyped up for him coming into the offseason. He has a ton of fans. He has a ton of people who like him. And he had a solid year, especially on a bottom 4 team in the LEC. But overall, was it so impressive? Like, meh. I don't know. So to me, he's a B tier. I think he's hard to rate. I think he has maybe A tier talent, but maybe B tier performances. Maybe he's held back by his team. Who knows for sure what the future holds for him. If he'll be able to, if Excel will get better, if he'll be able to get to a new roster, if things are going to turn around, if they're going to get a new support, who knows for sure. But I have Patrick in the B tier for right now. Next for me, we'll go with Carzy. This is a guy who just popped off in the most recent playoff series, obviously. But overall, I think he had a pretty bad regular season for Mad Lions. I was not super impressed with him. I'll put him in the B tier because I don't want to put him too much lower than that because I think he is good. I think he is solid, but he had bad laning stats. Mad Lions was really, really up and down over the course of the year. I didn't really watch too many Mad Lions games where I was super impressed with Carzy, or I was like, wow, Carzy's playing insane or really nasty. And, the bot lane of Mad Lions over the last couple of years has been pretty solid. Kaiser's been an S tier support, even an MVP candidate at some times, and he's been a beast, and Cary's usually right there with him. But this season maybe Kaiser's play slipped a little bit. I think Cary's play slipped a lot of bit, and overall all of Mad Lions were super up and down, but I do think the bot lane was a little bit inconsistent. It was nice to see them have a good series against Rogue and start to pop off a little bit, and maybe they're starting to figure some things out. But over the course of the 18 game regular season, I was not super impressed with Carzy. This is another guy who maybe he has A tier talent, but I was really disappointed in Carzy this split in this season, so I do have him in the B tier. Next, we can talk about Neon, who, this is another guy that's hard for me to rate because during the run that Schalke had where they started to win some games, they were pretty impressive, and he had some pop-off performances, and he had some really good games and stuff, but again, I think AD carry in the LEC is really stacked and loaded, and overall, I'm not super impressed with Neon. I'm not honestly a big fan of his. I don't think he had the best year. Again, he had some good games for sure, but do I think Schalke would maybe be better off with another support? Maybe. Or with another AD carry. I don't even know what I'm saying. So I don't know. He's hard for me to rate. I think he's solid. I think he's decent, but again, AD carry is pretty stacked and pretty loaded. Do I think he's better than like Patrick or Carzy? Like, not really. I kind of put him in this C tier, and maybe that seems a little bit low. Maybe that seems like a little bit of disrespect or something, but I don't know. He's on a solid team. Obviously, they finished top 4 in the LEC. He had a decent year, but overall, just not super impressed with Neon. I think he leaves a lot to be desired in that regard. And again, just look at some of these other faces on here. I mean, for me, it's hard to rate him higher than a lot of these guys. Next, we can talk about We'll go with Crown Shot, who is comp, obviously, in this tier list. Crown Shot came in 7 games into the year. He had 11 games left to help turn around Vitality, and obviously, he was hyped up. This was a guy who, there was rumors of him getting on G2. There was rumors of him getting on Fnatic this offseason. There was, rumors of, was he going to go to the LCS? There was a million different landing spots. People knew he was talented. People wanted him. But for whatever reason, it didn't work out. Everyone thought it was stupid. I thought it was stupid. And this guy finally got his opportunity on the worst team in the LEC, who, I don't know, they had 1 win at the time when they picked up Crown Shot. And they started to win a couple games. All of a sudden, they became a little bit more scary of a team. He provided some life into this team. And I think Crown Shot, honestly, really impressed me. He had good stats, he had good games, good scores, he passed the eye test, but the biggest thing to me also is that he was playing on the worst team in the LEC and still was a threat, still had some pop-off performances. Yes, were there some games he didn't play perfect? Yeah, I mean, he had not even been playing. He didn't have the regular offseason. He didn't have regular scrims. He's playing with a team he'd never played before. There was so many things working against him, and I still think he was able to shine even on a bad team, in a bad situation, in a bad environment. I think he's going to make big strides going into the summer, but I think he was already really great in the spring. I think he deserved a spot in the LEC way before this. I think he deserves a spot on a better team than Vitality, but overall, I have Crown Shot in the A tier. I was really impressed with him. I think he's really good, and I think he's going to continue to be really good for Vitality. I think that's a really good pickup for them, and he's definitely a player I think they can build around going forward in the future. Next up, we'll talk about Jezu. I really like this guy. I thought he had a good season overall. But it is a little bit tough for me because I do think Treats was one of the best supports in the LEC. And how much of this is Jezu? How much of this is Treats? Where do you give the credit exactly? I think Jezu played good, but I think Treats played amazing. And I think that makes it way easier. So it's a little bit tough for me to know exactly where to give the credit. Overall, I'm going to be putting him in the B tier. I think these guys, are pretty interchangeable. Any given day, any given week, I think any of these guys could pop off. And again, if you put Jezu on Excel, would he look better or worse than Patrick? I don't know. Would Jezu on Mad Lions look better or worse than Carzy? I don't know. Would one of these guys maybe look better on SK? I don't know. I mean, it probably would go something like this in my opinion. But I think those guys are all really close. I think that B tier is really tight. I think Jezu impressed a lot of people this season. I think he did a lot better than a lot of people thought he was going to do or was going to be able to do. But again, I think Treats really played a massive part in that. He had a ton of insane plays in lane. He had just a ton of insane plays overall. He played at an MVP level in the LEC, and that's going to make any 80 carries job a lot easier. It's going to make him look a lot better. So you got to kind of keep that in mind as well. Lastly, we got the big 3 to get into. These 3 80 carries, I am super huge fans of all 3 of them. I think they are all so sick. I think they are all so nasty. But to me, number 3 out of them is going to be Hansama. This is going to be S tier for me. He was a beast for Rogue all year. I love his playstyle, the aggressive craziness. He kind of plays everything. Super fun to watch. I've been a big fan of him for a while. I think he had a great season, just like I think all of Rogue had a great season. Also, I think Hansama, was playing with Trimby, obviously, who at certain points during the season was still learning, was still adjusting to being on a top team, to being in the LEC, and maybe he wasn't even that good for different parts of the season. Overall, I think he was solid. I don't think he was bad at all, but probably a downgrade over Vander and a little bit of a weaker, middle tier support. And I think that could be difficult to play with, but I think Hansama still was able to look really good and was a beast the whole year and was a huge part of why Rogue was so good and why they're going to continue to be so good. And yeah, they didn't look that great in the playoffs so far, but again, we're talking about the regular season. But also, I think Rogue is going to be able to bounce back and be able to turn it around. And, I think they are a little bit better than maybe they showed against Mad Lions. But maybe Mad Lions is better than they looked in the regular season as well. I'm not exactly sure. But either way, I think Hansama was a beast. I think he had a great year. I think he was S tier for sure. He's a huge carry, huge threat, and he's super fun to watch play. Is honestly one of my favorite players to watch. And then at number 2, I'm going with Upset. This guy, Fnatic was very up and down this season. I think they finished with a record of 9-9, so pretty middle of the pack. They got the 5 seed in the LEC. Yes, they did beat SK in the playoffs, but again, very up and down. They would look great one week. They even beat G2, and then they'd look terrible some weeks. They were dropping random games. They were all int and running it down, but the bright spot on this team and the most consistent player over the course of the season for them was without a doubt Upset. I mean, him and Hylissang had an insane amount of solo kills and 2v2 kills, I guess, not solo kills, but pretty much how most of these games would go is that pretty early on in the bot lane for Fnatic or whatever, level 2, level 3, level 4, Hylissang would go in, he would die, and then Upset would kill both the people. You know, Hylissang made some plays, obviously, and would set it up, but like, pretty much in a lot of those fights, Upset was coming out alive, Hylissang was always coming out dead, and the other team's bot lane was pretty much usually coming out dead. I mean, Upset and Hylissang wanted to fight early and often all the time, and Upset was, you know, staying alive usually a little bit more than Hylissang and living on the edge just as well, and he had some silly deaths as well, and he was a part of some of Fnatic's issues as well, but overall I think he was the best player on Fnatic, one of the most consistent players, and without him, you know, again, there was talks in the offseason of who Fnatic was going to go with at AD carry to replace Reckless and how exactly it was going to work. They decided to go with Upset, and I think they made a great decision. There was a lot of talk of whether they made the right decision. There was people saying that Upset was going to do great at Fnatic, and there's people saying he was going to suck and that you can never replace Reckless and you can't fill his shoes, but overall, I think he did a pretty dang good job, and to be an MVP candidate on a 9-9 team, you must be doing something right, but unfortunately for him, Reckless still exists. Reckless is still in the LEC, and he was an MVP candidate as well, and to me, he is the S tier number 180 carry in the LEC. Obviously, G2 finished with the 1 seed. Reckless was a huge part of that. Insane KDA. He's always there for G2. He is reliable. He is their insurance policy. They are all playing crazy fast, and Reckless is just so under control. He is happy there. He says how he loves just being a member of the team and not having to be a leader. You know, he says he's a better role player. He's playing that style. Him and Mickey have had great synergy. They're doing big things. Obviously, they finished with the 1 seed. They are the huge favorites to take down the LEC title and to go to MSI and hopefully do some more big things. But you know, if there was any questions about whether Perks was going to, you know, whether missing Perks was going to hurt G2 or was going to suck for them or whatever, I think those questions have been answered. Yeah, it's just one LEC regular season, so maybe they haven't been answered. We'll have to see playoffs, MSI, Worlds, all that. But so far, so good. Obviously, we all knew Reckless was great coming into the season, and I assumed him going over to G2 was not going to be an issue. But, you know, there's always a little bit of a doubt. You never know exactly how these things are going to work out. But, I mean, I definitely think it worked out amazingly. Reckless to G2 has been great. It has been awesome. And I think he was the best AD carry in the LEC. I think there's definitely a case to be made for Upset. If you said Hansama, I would disagree, but I could see it as well. But I think those are the top 3 AD carries for sure. And there you have it. There is my LEC AD carry tier list. I'm going to take a drink of water, and we're going to get into the supports. All right, here we go. Getting over to the supports. Again, there's going to be a lot of the overlap in the stuff I'm saying just because these guys go hand in hand with each other. They have a very direct impact on each other. But yeah, so we'll still go over some of this stuff. For me, number 10, same as in the 80 carries, it's going to be Promise Q. I was not super hyped up for him coming into the year. I don't think many people were. It was kind of a meme signing. Promise Q has said that he knows this is his last chance, and he knows he needs to prove that he's not a bottom tier support in the LEC, and he himself even said that he did not prove that in the spring. You know, he says he's going to grind and he's going to be ready for the summer, blah, 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 blah. We'll see. I don't think he's that talented. I don't think he's ready. I don't really think he's LEC caliber. And I don't think many people expected him to be, you know, wasn't that good to me. And yeah, as an F tier, not too much to say there. Again, Astralis, I don't think they're a very good team. I don't think they're going to be very good in summer. I wouldn't be surprised if they finish last because I think Vitality is improving. And Astralis is improving too. You know, Felix is absolutely a big addition for them. But, I mean, those two teams are going to be battling out in the bottom, and we'll see who comes out, I guess. Next up, Torre is number 9 for me. Definitely have him in the F tier as well. I'm pretty sure I had him in the F tier coming into the season, and I got flamed for it. I said I don't like Torre, and people were like, oh, he's a veteran. He's had some good splits. He's gone to Worlds. And like, yeah, that's all true, but that doesn't mean he's good right now. And from what I saw from last year, I was just not really impressed. This was not a guy I liked. I wasn't hyped up and excited about him. And yeah, he was going to get to lane with Patrick, and maybe that was going to make him look a little bit better, and that was going to help him out, but it didn't, and Excel was not even that good, so it's not like he was on a super good team to make him look better or whatever. You know, they were a bottom 4 team. I think he was a bottom tier support. I think he pretty clearly held back Excel at times. I think he was really tough to watch when I'd watch their games. I know I tweeted out multiple times this year, like, Torre, like, what the fuck was that? You know, stuff like that. yeah, not a fan of this guy. Don't think he's very good. Haven't been impressed with his play. Maybe he was good a couple years ago, but 2021, after the spring split, Torre is F tier for me. I wouldn't be surprised at all if Excel replaces him. I think they should probably replace him because there's a lot of nasty European Regional League supports out there. Obviously, as we've seen, there's a lot of guys that maybe deserve an opportunity, and I think many people would agree that Patrick probably deserves better, and we want to see better for Patrick and Excel, but that's what they're working with right now. We got Patrick in the F tier. Get those 2 F tier guys out of the way early. All right, then we get into the C tier. For me, it's Labrov. I was not a big fan of comping Labrov. Really, a lot of the Vitality players coming into the season. I had them all ranked a little bit higher than they ended up being, but I was really, really pessimistic on Vitality coming into the year. I got a lot of flame for it. Obviously, they ended up not being very good, so I was right a little bit, but they ended up being way worse than even I thought they were going to be. So I wish I could say I knew they were going to be this bad, but I didn't. But I definitely thought they were going to be worse than a lot of people said. So maybe I deserve some credit there. I don't know. People are just going to flame me either way, no matter what. So it's fine. But Labrov, just a guy that overall I don't think was super impressive this season. I think obviously he looked a little bit better once Crown Shot came in, but does that mean that he got better, or does that just mean that, you know, your AD carry can make it look a little bit better? I don't know. Obviously comp wasn't super impressive, and he was in a tough spot then, but overall, yeah, Labrov was solid. He was decent, but he was a bad support on a bad team. You know, could him and Crown Shot develop their synergy in between the spring and summer split, come out looking way better than summer? Yeah, I mean, yeah. Labrov was in a tough spot, having to switch 80 carries in the middle of the season. That's tough. It's difficult. He was on a bad team. If you're the support and you're like engaging for a team that's always losing or sucks at fighting or whatever, it can make you look bad, and maybe he had some of that. But overall, I'm just not a big fan of Labrov. I don't think he's super impressive. I think he's decent. You know, I don't have him in the F tier. I got him a little bit above, but overall, I think he's very replaceable. Yeah, I don't know. I don't see like a ton of potential in him either. I think he's solid. I don't think he's good, and that's that. Next up, we will We can go with, I guess, Trimby in the C tier. Again, this guy, he's decent, and he's had some good moments. But overall, I think he is on a good team that makes him look better. And he gets to lane with Hansama, which I think can make him look better as well. I mean, I have him as, what, the 7th best support? I think that's fair. If he was on a worse team, would he look a lot worse? I think so. I don't think he's bad. I think he's decent. I think he's had some flashes. And I also like that he's inexperienced and has some potential to develop into the future. And I think if you want to develop, get in a lane with Hansama and getting to play on Rogue, and he's going to get to play in big matches over this whole course of the year, that's going to be awesome for improvement, and this guy could continue to get better and better and better. But does that mean he's better than some of these other supports right now just because he's playing on a better team, just because he gets to lane with Hansama and they don't? Yeah, you know, I don't necessarily think so. If you had him low B tier, I wouldn't argue with you too much. But I have him high C tier. That's kind of what I'm thinking about Trimby right now. I've seen a lot of Trimby hate on like Reddit and Twitter and stuff, and I don't necessarily hate him. I'm not hating on him or anything. I think he has maybe a bright future ahead of him. But right now, April 1st, 2021, Trimby, I think C tier is pretty fair. Again, if you wanted to move him up, I wouldn't complain too much, but this is where I got him. Next, in the B tier, I would say low B tier for me is going to be Vander. Again, I know I talked about him and Kabe earlier. I think Vander was better than Kabe, but obviously I think Vander was very, very disappointing, especially seeing how good he was previously on Rogue and what a lot of people wanted from him and expected from him this season for that bot lane to be big carries for Misfits. And overall, Misfits was inconsistent and pretty bad this season. They almost snuck into the playoffs, but obviously, you know, they still finished under 500. It's not like they had an awesome record. It's not like they were a super good, scary team, and they could continue to develop. Obviously, they had a lot of young and experienced players, but I think people expected a lot more from Vander and Kabe. I think Kabe was a little bit more disappointing than Vander, but still, I'm pretty sure I had Vander as like an A tier coming into the season, bumping him down to low B tier. That's a pretty far drop, and overall, I think it's pretty fair. Next, in the B tier, I'm going to be going with Limit. This guy, he honestly had a really nasty playoff series against G2 recently, and he's had some big moments over the course of the year. overall, I think he's been good for Schalke. I think he's been solid. Obviously, B tier is not bad at all. He's been up and down, just like Schalke's been up and down. He's had some good moments. He's had some great moments. And he's had some not so good moments as well. Again, of the Schalke bot lane, I think he's performed a little bit better than Neon. I do rate Limit a little bit higher. Obviously, I think I had Neon in the C tier, and I have Limit in the B tier. I think Limit's fun to watch. I think he makes some huge plays. And like I said, he popped off against G2. You know, he's really showing what he can do. I think he can continue to develop and be good for Schalke going forward in the future. But I don't think he's like in that top tier supports either. I just think he's kind of middle of the pack, kind of meh. We'll see what happens. I think he's solid. Then we get into the top 4 supports. This is kind of hard for me. Overall, I think AD carry in the LEC I think is pretty sick. Overall, I think support has been pretty disappointing. Like, a lot of these supports, you know, Trimby, pretty disappointing this year. Vander, disappointing this year. Limit, he's just like, you know, solid, but not great. Overall, I think support is kind of been disappointing in the LEC this year, which is a little bit weird to me. But I'm going to be going with Hylissang next in the B tier. Obviously, coming into the split, this guy was S tier for me. Him and Reckless looked awesome at 2020 Worlds. They were one of the nastiest bot lanes at the entire tournament. But Hylissang had a not very good split in the spring. He led the LEC in deaths, dying over 5 times per game. And if you're dying that much, it's going to be tough to win. I know he's all about the engaging. He's all about the going in. And yeah, he did create a ton of kills. He did a lot of good things for Fnatic, but he also lost them a lot of games as well. He also had a lot of boneheaded plays and a lot of plays where he's just going in no matter what. And if you just engage all the time, no matter what, yeah, you're going to make some great engages. You're going to make some big plays. You're going to make some huge plays. You're going to create some kills that people thought you had no chance to, but you're also going to die a lot randomly. It's, you know, so you got to take the good with the bad there, I guess, a little bit to an extent, but also, you can't just credit, oh, but he creates so many kills. It's like, okay, well, you know, if you int 15 times to get a couple more extra kills, like, you know, it makes sense why he makes some huge crazy plays and looks nuts and insane sometimes, but, I mean, everyone can just go in all the time and just never have a stop ever, and you know, I don't know, so it's tough. He played on a good team. He played on a talented team. Upset was one of the best AD carries. He was in a good position to succeed, and he helped Upset look good, obviously, but he's got to dial it back. I mean, obviously the memes have always been that Hylissang just ints and goes in and goes crazy, and when it works, it looks awesome and it looks good, but, you know, this split, maybe even more so than ever, so many crazy random deaths that really made no sense, that at times lost Fnatic games. I think he's very, very talented. Obviously, if he rebounds and has like an S tier summer split, I wouldn't be shocked, but right now I think it's tough to rate him much higher than B tier. Honestly, you could put him in A, sure, but, you know, I wouldn't feel comfortable doing that. Next, we're going to get into the A tier for me with Kaiser. Yeah, this one might be a little bit surprising to people, because again, Mad Lions was up and down this season. The bot lane maybe didn't look as good as it has previously. Kaiser probably overall had a little bit of a disappointing split, but I do think he was much better than Carzzy. I think Carzzy held them back a little bit. And yeah, Kaiser didn't exactly pop off maybe like he normally does, but overall I think he played pretty well. Mad Lions still got the 3 seed in the LEC, so you know, somebody on their team was doing something right. And obviously they had a lot of amazing players too. Arma had a pretty good split. Aloya had a pretty good split. Humanoid maybe didn't have as good a split as he usually does, but he was still solid. And I think Kaiser was solid, and I think he had a good playoff series this weekend against Rogue. I think he's showing that he is still kind of a beast, and I think he's going to start heating up, and I still think he's very, very talented, and I think he was A tier. Maybe not the S tier Kaiser that we're used to, but that doesn't mean he's like a B tier or something. He was still very, very good over the course of the year. Then we're getting into the S tier, the top 2 for me. Number 2 is Treats, and this is really, really surprising because I was a big fan of Treats. I was a guy who said that TSM should have hang on to him, should have kept him, instead of spending all that money on Sword Art. I think it made more sense to go with Treats as an investment, not only in saving money right now, but also into the future, seeing what he could turn into. Treats was on a team, the number 6 team in the LEC, so, you know, not even a top 5 team, and was still an MVP candidate. He won so many games for them. Whenever they did win, it was usually pretty much like almost all the games him popping off. He had some of the most player of the games in the entire league. He had insane engages. He had an insane champion pool. He pulled out a Jarvan support game. I think Treats is so good. He's a vocal player. I think he can be a leader for like a young inexperienced SK team going forward. And overall I think he was a huge bright spot on this SK team. Again, I think he helped their team, their bot lane, everything be, you know, so much of what they did. And I just think very highly of him. I think he was awesome. I have him as the second best support in the LEC, but for me, number 1 is still Mickey. Maybe Mickey didn't have as dominant a split as we usually see from him. I know he kind of died a lot too. He was really, really close to Hylissang in the death sometimes. And maybe, you know, if Hylissang didn't play on such a good team, they would have got punished more for that or whatever. But I think I'm not ready to kind of dethrone him as the best support in the LEC. I don't think Treats passed him up. I don't think Kaiser's there yet. And I don't think really anybody else even has a case that's close to being where Mickey's at. I think he's really, really talented. I think he's crazy. He's insane. He gets a lane with Reckless. They have insane synergy. Everything seems to be clicking. Everything's going right for G2. And he's still number 1 in the LEC, in my opinion. I had him number 1 coming into the season. I'm keeping him there for now. But that is pretty much it for this video today, guys. We got through it. We did it. The 80 carries and the supports, both of the bot lane tier list in the LEC are now out. They are now up to date. Definitely drop a like if you guys did enjoy it. I would appreciate it so much. This was a long video. It was hard to make. My mouth's dry now. I'm tired. But I did want to get this stuff out for you guys. So definitely leave a like. Helps me out with the YouTube algorithm. I'd appreciate it a ton. Leave a comment down below. What do you think I got right? What do you think I got wrong? What do your tier lists look like? I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts and opinions. Subscribe to stay up to date on all my latest content. Hopefully I catch you guys in the next one. But until then, peace!